The Weed of the Week is brought to you by Mandaco.
For lower costs and higher production, Mandaco leads with versatility unmatched. Twister is the vertical tillage unit for no-till as well as conventional tillage. See your Mandaco dealer. Visit northcountrymarketing.biz or call 877-915-8790.
Well, the first time I saw our Weed of the Week, Virginia Groundcherry, it was on the opposite side of this field, Brian. I remember as kids, we just started to see some black nightshade coming into our area, and our dad said, hey guys, when you're out walking those beans, make sure you watch out for black nightshade. I hear it's a really bad one. So we saw this weed that we'd never seen before. It turned out to be Virginia Groundcherry. We said, oh yeah, Dad, there's a terrible patch of black nightshade out in that field, and Dad got all concerned. So he drove out to the field, looked at it, and he said, that's not black nightshade, that's Virginia Groundcherry.
Well, either weed is not good to have in your soybean field. You don't want that stuff. With Virginia Groundcherry, it's a perennial weed, so that's what makes control especially tough. And what are you going to do with it in soybeans? Because, you know, about the only thing that I've seen that has control, Syncor has some activity pre-emerge. You know, Authority and Valor can burn it down, but I don't know if you're actually going to control much. But what do you do post-emerge if you see it?
This is where Roundup Ready soybeans have come into play. And when we can use a high rate of Roundup out in the soybeans safely, that's the best way to deal with perennial weeds. The other thing that I would say is you can do fall treatments. Now, obviously, it's getting a little bit late, especially in the northern part of the country. But if you're further in the south and you do have this particular weed, you could do a fall treatment and do a nice job after the crop comes off and you have some good regrowth. You could fry it down in the fall and never have to see it again.
Using maybe Banvel or 2,4-D, something like that.
So there are some different options, but keep in mind when you have perennial weeds, we prefer not to have tillage out there because once you break up that root system, a lot of times you get more weeds popping up. We'd prefer to leave the root system intact. Try to kill it roots and all. You can use something like 2,4-D or Banvel in the fall, or you can use Roundup in a spring burn down.
In corn, status would probably be the best choice there, but again, it's a perennial, so it's going to be a little tough. Make sure you're using a good strong rate. In wheat, we don't generally see a lot of problem with Virginia Groundcherry because generally speaking, the wheat will choke that Groundcherry out. Groundcherry does not get real tall.
Well, in wheat, I can already hear people thinking, oh boy, I guess I'll just use 2,4-D. You were talking about that in a burn down situation. 2,4-D can be hard on your wheat. I don't recommend that. I'd much rather see you use Husky. You'll do a much better job burning that weed back, especially if you bump your Husky up to the higher labeled rate.
Well, once again, our Weed of the Week is Virginia Groundcherry. We've seen it on our own farm for years. Hopefully you haven't seen it on yours because it is a perennial weed and it can be a little bit difficult to control, especially in certain crops like soybeans.
That's all time we have for this week's weed, but Iron Talk is coming up next.